Which duo should you pick from the Ghost Cookie selector? Let's find out.
7K Dreamer please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Sorry if I sound weird because I have a sore throat. Anyway, many of you guys have been asking me which is the best duo to pick from this selector. But before we discuss that, I would like to say that I made a mistake in my previous video saying that you can only get one selector. But in fact, because the check-ins themselves gives 6 pumpkin candies, you can actually get 2 selectors if you complete the dungeon every day, because you will earn a total of 6 plus 14 candies. With that said, which is the best substat to go for? Take note that these duos cannot be Mythical Awakened and provide 5% less stats compared to 7 out of 0 duos. So in the very long run, these duos are going to be less ideal. But how long exactly is this long run? You will apparently need 50 Awakened Jewels or Moonlit Ores to fully make a Mythical Awakened Jewel plus 5. That's an insane cost for regular players, and it further emphasizes on the need to do more jewel raid. So it shows that simply awakened jewels can go a long mile for regular players. With this new information on hand, we will now look at the 6 substats and decide what will be a good pick for your account. There is no absolute best here because the jewel substats are in fact pretty generic, and most of these substats are catered for PvP. The first 2 are the physical and magic attack and defense increasing jewels. Compared to the Dark Knight jewels, these 2 offer 15% less attack increase but compensate that with an additional defense increase. I have seen top players use this on Regenlave, Rosie and Fenrir. These jewels can be used more flexibly, not just for damage dealers but also for more defensive heroes like Rudy, who ironically also deal good damage. Then we have skill use chance increase and status effect resist rate increase of 7%. I think this is the weakest duo and should not be picked because skill use chance is a completely random stat, and even with 7% we never really know how guaranteed it will be for that hero to use his or her skills. Status effect resist rate plus 7% sounds good coupled with a 90% resistance against a certain status effect, but at any time you can only have 3 resistances, and also there are heroes that reduce resist rate like Regenlave, who reduces electrify resist rate by 20%, so you will not have 100% resistance, making this duo slightly underwhelming and unnecessary. The next duo is the speed attack plus 3 and speed attack damage increase duo. We all know how important the speed duo is, but it is a very niche duo and you only need one for your attack leader. The thing about this is that in the long run, you will want your attack leader to have the best speed duo, which is the Mythical Awakened 7 out of 0 version, and this duo will only be used probably for Brawl if people still use speed duos there. And I also question how big a difference increased speed attack damage will bring to the playing field. Speed attacks tend to only take place at the start of the battle. This isn't an effect attack damage increase, so we are really talking about that 1 to 2 burst damage at the beginning of each match. Perhaps for someone like Regenlave and Trude, it could make a difference, but beyond that I don't think this duo should be prioritized over the next 2, which are the counter rate and the counter attack damage plus 20% and the block rate and block damage reduction plus 15%. I think these 2 actually have much more utility than most other substats because of how they can be used on various heroes and not relegated to PvE or PvP usage. Of course, for counter rate increase, this is best used for heroes who are meant to be countering like Chris, Regenlave and maybe Zeke and Ares. This provides the same increase as the World Boss duo, so it can immediately replace a hero who is using that. The block rate duo actually provides lower block rate than the World Boss version, but also has the additional damage reduction substat, which is a 4-lot duo substat. This duo is very worth it because usually when you boost a hero's block rate, you may very likely use the 4-lot duo to complement it, but this basically saves you an entire duo slot. But block rate increase tends to be used on more defensive heroes. Some include Sage, Rosie in PvP, and Yuri, Sylvia in PvE. Block rate is also more effective when block rate itself is somewhat decent. Now, should you pick red, green or blue duos then? Naturally, if you intend to equip a damage dealer, you should pick the red duo. But if you're looking at equipping support heroes or heroes who need to last on the field, go for green or blue duos. I recently see more top tier players using green jewels in PvP because of the HP increase, but I just want to caution you here about that. It may look strange to you and me that 3 green jewels will only give a hero 3900 HP in total, but you have to consider their use of Rosie and Mr. Armor. With these two around, all 5-man AoE attacks are nerfed heavily to possibly single or double digit damage only. So 3900 HP relative to that is a very big buff for those defensive oriented heroes. And with that said, if you are not at that level of play, then going for blue jewels is very much preferred because any damage you take will definitely be greater than 3900 easily. So this is my priority of choosing the jewels. If you guys have thoughts or counter arguments about my reasons, feel free to voice them in the comments below because I genuinely do want to hear more perspectives as well, and it can benefit other players too. So hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for more guys. Thank you so much and see you.